Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast. On today's session, I want to talk about the new metrics and KPIs that dealers need to measure modern retailing success and to improve operational efficiencies. Let me set the framework for today's discussion. For years, dealers have participated in 20 groups organized by NCM or NADA, and these composites contain metrics, operational metrics, that dealers use to discuss the performance of different stores. Yet it is my belief that many of the metrics that are going to move operational efficiency to the next level are not contained in the current composites that dealers look at. And recently, at the 2021 Digital Marketing Strategies Conference, dealers discussed the challenges they have with creating a modern retailing experience, and there was a disagreement on where that focus should be had right now, meaning Chip Perry from A to Z Sync held the position that the tools that are on dealership websites are not going to change the retail experience. Since 90% of all transactions are still happening in the showroom, dealers need to focus on the customer experience and operational efficiencies, including the consideration of a single point of contact that completes the entire transaction. Other guests talked about the need for a seamless and consistent experience from Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, that the numbers presented to consumers at every tier need to be accurate and scientifically proven to be transactionable based on the dealer's individual view on taxes, fees, and how they choose to operate their business. At DMSC, Rusty West, CEO and president of MarketScan, talked about how his platform is powering many of the most popular digital retailing tools, but yet there's still some additional opportunities for efficiencies, especially around OEM rebates and incentives, and fine-tuning them to allow each OEM to be competitive on a model-to-model basis in each local market. Operational efficiency means that the dealers have offers that can compete and transact with a competitive payment. And MarketScan introduced their MScope product at DMSC that could power the next generation of OEM decision-making and create a more competitive environment, especially for OEMs that want to gain market share. On today's podcast, I want to talk about the idea of creating a new framework, a published framework for new KPIs and metrics for modern retailing. Such a framework has never been published, and it's my hope that with the support of the automotive community at the upcoming Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit, we could start to surface some of these KPIs. Now, before I discuss some of the ideas that I'd like to share with you, let me also say that in the past, we've tried to create some revised standards in the area of marketing and data exchange. A number of years ago, David Metter and I tried to create a committee and a framework to create ADF 2.0. The original ADF specification was first designed in the year 2000. Even though there have been other specifications like the STAR specification, ADF 2.0 was, envisioned to capture more of the data that is now available from digital retailing tools, especially marketing referral data, engagement data in digital retailing, and the wealth of information that transactional tools on dealership websites now capture when a lead is sent into the dealer's CRM. We have seen companies like Cox Automotive and Vin Solutions CRM integrate more of the shopper behavior and history into the CRM lead record. So dealers who are on a Cox Automotive framework through VIN Solutions can see shopping behavior and activity, intensity, and propensity to buy based on activity on AutoTrader, KBB, and the dealer.com website. But we tried back then, a few years ago, to gather all the people together. And, the effort stalled because, in effect, it would take some development, resources, scheduling, and timing from some of the largest players, like at that time, CDK Global, Cox Automotive, Dealer eProcess, Dealer On, the list goes on. And honestly, there wasn't enough executive buy-in to allocate the resources to establish ADF 2.0 and to put it into effect. But I'm not discouraged because more than ever, we can see today that the tools, investments, and acquisitions that are going on in modern retailing infrastructure and technology is quite remarkable. In the last 60 days, over $1 billion of transactions have occurred. We've seen the purchase of Roadster by CDK Global, the purchase of Gubagoo by Reynolds & Reynolds. We've seen the purchase of Darwin by J.D. Power, and recently Pure Cars bought Drive It Now, True Payments from Terry Sabathia. There's a lot of activity in this space and more to come. So what should we be looking at? Well, I do believe that as many of the digital retailing companies have embraced throwing Google events into the dealer's Google Analytics account to see engagement with digital retailing tools, I think we need to normalize some of the data to some metrics that relate to what percentage of consumers coming to the website engaged with the digital retailing experience. That could be how many people started a trade, how many people started a finance application, how many people completed either of those, how many people adjusted or played with payments, term, lease, and finance. What I'm talking about is some engagement metrics so that as more and more dealers simplify their websites, as more dealers realize they need to have a single sales process, meaning eliminating 3 different finance applications on their website, eliminating duplicate trade-in tools on their website, when dealers realize the success of modern retailing will be a defined sales process, which everyone goes through, we're going to be able to surface some metrics that will be able to tell dealers how well their Google advertising campaigns, Facebook, email marketing, video marketing, OTT, all of their demand-side generation is working to generate engagement with their online sales process. And so at the Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit, I will be surfacing some unified metrics, which I believe should be incorporated into marketing reports, in dealership composite reports at NADA and NCM. But I'd also like feedback from the vendor community and the dealer community so we can come with a unified voice to suggest to the industry that we need more modernized views of the shopper experience. For example, in e-commerce, it's very common for marketing automation software or sales funnel software to market back to consumers who've left goods in their shopping cart. We've all seen this, whether it's an email from Amazon or a JR cigar, depending on where you're buying, or your local wine shop or clothing store. It's not uncommon for someone to get an email that says, hey, I see you left some things in your shopping cart. Did you want to check out? And these reminders sometimes are ignored because, no, we decided not to buy. But other times, it was like, oh, yeah, I never finished that transaction. Let me finish it now. The degree at which digital retailing technology and tools are observing where consumers stop in the funnel and then tailoring individualized messages really is an opportunity for improvement. Also, when those leads come into the CRM, to be able to have some standards of measurement that could be included in the lead that talks about how engaged that shopper was, on any platform would be helpful. But again, unless we establish the new metrics and KPIs, this type of insights can't happen. And why is this important? Let me go back to my Cox example. Cox's framework, which I talked about in a previous recent podcast, allows dealers that are using a dealer.com website, VIN Solution software, and subscribe to KBB and AutoTrader having a unified data set. But what if a dealer was using VIN Solutions and is using a different website platform? How do we get that engagement data into the CRM lead? How do we get a more open framework, especially for dealer groups that have to support many different website platforms due to OEM mandates? That's why the discussion on developing a modern set of metrics and KPIs for modern retailing is super important. But I'd also like to discuss at the upcoming Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit, which is in Palm Beach, November 14th, 15th, and 16th. That's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. What about the metrics for in-store activity? I have not seen a credible study and analysis of the uptick in transactional efficiency, labor efficiency, when a dealer moves from a traditional sales process to a digital retailing framework, meaning the tools on the website are using the same calc engine as the tools in the showroom, meaning the salespeople are using iPads sitting side by side in a consultative fashion with a consumer, picking up where they left off, and then depending on the dealer's sales process, whether it's a single point of contact like that which I've seen at Champ Honda and others, or whether it is a process where the sales associate does most of the process except F&I. What about the metrics that time the different events? Now, the reason why there hasn't been a credible set of metrics is because dealers may be using a dozen different tools for the sales process, and the communication between these tools, as we already know, is non-existent. But as more and more of the digital retailing platforms provide desking tools, customer greeting tools, even to F&I tools, down to transactionable electronic signatures, for the first time, we will be able to start seeing different timestamps when someone's greeted, when someone first meets their sales associate, how long it takes to get an agreeable deal number, how long does it take to finish the F&I process to the time where paper is executed, the deal is done, and delivery process starts. I believe we need metrics to characterize each one of those steps. And there's a number of companies that are working on this unified sales process. I mentioned A to Z Sync. We also have Fuse Tech, built on the robust sales process and technology that the Walser Automotive Group developed. But now, when you have the acquisition of Roadster with CDK, who has eLeads and a robust DMS, and now a leading digital retailing tool, depending on how quickly these tools could be integrated, could we again start to see more in-store metrics as dealers test and change different sales models? For example, could there be a world soon where metrics from a CDK eLead Roadster dealership could benchmark their existing sales process, and then what happens when they move to a one price or a one point of contact sales model? Again, today, because dealers use so many different software programs, the thought of benchmarking these different time signals in the showroom experience has been difficult because somebody comes in and they're greeted with an up management system like Next Up, and then the consumer is picked up by the sales associate, and maybe they're using an eLead salesperson desking tool, but the final desking is done by another tool because the dealer likes, another technology platform, and then they go into the F&I office that's using a Darwin menu system. And again, these handoffs, if anything, would be manual. And we know how well manual systems work. So I'd like to request from the dealer community, the vendor community, the dealer group community, even the OEM community, feedback on what are the metrics we should be measuring in the showroom. Meaning, we need to have a new set of tools if we're going to allow consumers to transact on their phone, in their home, online, on their desktop, in the showroom. What are some of the engagement metrics that will show if the digital retailing tools are working? Are they easy? Are they understandable? What are the benefits of assisted conversion with conversational commerce, messaging built in or not? We need some new metrics for that. And then when the consumer arrives, what are the metrics we should be looking at with the assumption that the dealer is using a technology platform that's connected? And I think more and more we're going to see a single retail experience that can be followed through a single or connected series of software. Obviously, Techion, who's made a splash for themselves, although their footprint today is relatively small with dealers, that's their vision, is that they will create a dealership operational software base with all the tools, including an online digital retailing tool, which they've already surfaced for Hyundai dealers, and a connected experience in the showroom, and even a connected experience with service. That's their vision. How well that has been implemented is yet to be seen, but it is clear that the acquisitions by Reynolds, CDK, and the up-and-coming software development from Techion really is starting to look more like we have a better idea of what the retail experience can look like, and are we going to have a connected framework of software products that could start benchmarking operational efficiency and to identify areas of bottleneck so that dealers can lower their operational costs and create a better experience for their staff and for consumers. So if you have any opinions on what metrics we should be adding, servicing, discussing at the Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit pertaining to online engagement with digital retailing tools, or let's just say retailing tools, and then what metrics and KPIs we should be looking at when the consumer comes in the showroom, I invite you to send me those suggestions to my email, Brian, Brian, at brianpash.com. Very simple. I will then compile these suggestions and start to put together a framework for consideration. If you don't have any specific suggestions for KPIs or metrics, but have spent a lot of time in helping dealers develop an efficient retail sales process, I will be looking for some people to create a thought leadership committee that we can meet virtually a few times before November, so that when we do surface these metrics and these KPIs, that enough people have looked at them and commented them so we actually have a meaningful discussion at the conference. I'm hoping that we can get some OEMs to participate as well, because I'm very interested to see which metrics the OEMs are focused on to measure the success of the digital retailing efforts that they're promoting. And we know a number of the OEMs have chosen a single platform. Others have chosen to go with an open platform with multiple choices. So the question is, how are they really measuring which digital retailing platform is better? Again, these metrics that we're going to surface should help everyone, the manufacturers, the vendors, and the dealer community. That's why I'm surfacing it. So I'm announcing today this call for suggestions, ideas, or even metrics that you're currently using that we can compile and present for discussion at the upcoming Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit. We need new metrics and frameworks to analyze retail sales processes and the technology that is either enabling or hindering success, and at the end of the day, we're hoping that this will create a more robust discussion between vendors, dealers, and the OEMs on how to create a win-win situation for consumers, for dealers, and to give the OEMs the transparency to see where retail sales process is impacting brand experience. These are all valuable discussions. So again, if you have an opinion, if you want to share some of the metrics you're using, some of the reports that you use to compare digital retailing tools, send them to me, brian@brianpash.com, and then look forward to some upcoming announcements and updates, and obviously the conference in November. If you are a dealership principal, a manager, executive manager, OEM leader, focusing on data, metrics, retailing success, if you're a vendor who has products that are helping dealers be more efficient with data-driven insights or data-driven technology, I encourage you all to register for the Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit, November 14th, 15th, 16th on Palm Beach Island at the beautiful O Hotel and Resort, that is EAU. If you go to automotiveattributionsummit.com, you'll see the hotel link and dates. We will be posting a detailed agenda, but I do encourage everyone to book their hotels in advance. Our recent conference in the Napa Valley, as I predicted, sold out, and people had to go to the adjacent hotel. The O Hotel Resort and Spa is an amazing property, 5-star property. We have a great rate, and if you would like to stay at a hotel with a less expensive daily rate, there's a number of choices on Palm Beach Island or nearby in West Palm. But I do encourage you to book your hotels in advance. And then over the next week or two, I will put up the agenda. It's a very robust educational agenda, and we'll be bringing first-to-market research, groundbreaking case studies, and of course, dealer success stories, so that we as an industry can get better and understand how to improve operational efficiency through data-driven marketing, data-driven sales process, data-driven analytics, customer retention strategies, and hopefully even some data on the future with connected car data strategies to improve service and retention. So get ready for a great conference. In the meantime, reach out to me if you have some ideas on the new metrics and KPIs we need to establish in the automotive industry to help everyone sell more cars in a digital age. I look forward to speaking with you again on a future podcast.